Are you considering self-publishing your finished manuscript? Maybe you're waiting to get your edits back and feeling excited, but nervous about the next steps. Before you hit that publish button, sis, I want to share 3 common self-publishing mistakes I've seen too many first-time authors make. Yes, even the ones with amazing stories to tell. These are the kinds of mistakes that can distract from your message or make your book feel less impactful than it really is. So tune in, take notes, and let's make sure your book shows up strong. Let's get it. Ready to write your first book and make an impact? Do you wish you could organize your book ideas without feeling overwhelmed and actually find the time to write and finish your book? Hey, I'm Donna Cherie, a book writing coach and author. Welcome to Book Writing Made Simple. Inside this podcast, I'll teach you how to get a clear vision for your book idea, get organized, keep it simple, and develop a writing plan so you can finally get your book out into the world. Grab a notebook and pen with your favorite cup of tea. Hey, aspiring author. Welcome to Book Writing Made Simple. I'm your host, Donna Cherie. I hope that you are enjoying this fantastic Tuesday, because that's the time of this podcast is coming out is on a Tuesday, but you might be listening on a different day. And if it's not a Tuesday, I still hope that whatever day you're tuning into this episode, that it is going fantastic. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to invite you to sign up for Create a Solid Book Plan, a 1-hour coaching call with me. This 1-hour coaching session, I will help you create a solid book plan to bring your first book to life without the chaos. You'll learn how to clarify your ideas, to develop a clear roadmap, to begin the book writing process. So make sure you head on over to donnacherie.com/coaching. Again, that's donnacherie.com/coaching to get started now. Don't wait another day to write your book, but let's get a plan together so that we can move forward and get to the finish line and get to what we're talking about today, which is self-publishing. So let's be honest. If you know anything about self-publishing, it gives us the freedom to bring our stories to life without the gatekeepers. And that's a blessing. But with that same freedom, there also comes a responsibility. And sometimes in the excitement of I'm finally publishing my book, we tend to skip over important steps or just don't know what we don't know when we get to this self-publishing phase. So hear me out. The goal isn't perfection when it comes to this book writing process of doing everything perfectly, but we do want to show up and finish in excellence. So today I'm giving you 3 self-publishing mistakes you need to avoid so your book can make the impact it was called to make. When I was going through my own self-publishing phase, when I wrote my book, Untarnished, Reclaiming My Self-Worth Through God's Untainted Love, I'm grateful that I had a step-by-step instructions, hands down, that literally helped me to create the cover design, what to write on the back, and many other minute, tiny details that went into making a book look professional. And I definitely wanted my book to look professional. There have been times, and specifically one time, where I saw a beautifully written book, like the inside was so good, the book was good, but the cover had a font that was super hard to read on the front and the back, and the author's name was barely visible. The colors seemed out of sync, and it just didn't look professional, if you will. And it really broke my heart because I know that the book had an anointed message, but those distractions pulled away from the power of her story. So I made myself a note right then and there that presentation matters. And that's why I want to help you avoid that same mistake and share with you these mistakes to avoid as you're on your book writing journey and when you get to the self-publishing phase. Or you could be listening to this episode because I know I do have some folks who listen and they're already in the self-publishing phase. All right, so the first mistake to avoid when it comes to self-publishing is an amateur looking cover. And what do I mean by that, an amateur looking cover? It's a book that does not appear to be readable, clean, and attractive. And for your book cover, you want to make sure that it is readable, that it does look clean. There's white space or not even just white space, but making sure that the font that you've selected is readable, it's attractive, it looks good. You want to make sure that your title is centered. And if you have a subtitle, similar to how I did, you want to make sure that that is centered as well. And it includes your name, that your book cover includes your name. Now, there are some covers out there, and of course, they can get fancy because they've been doing this for a while, or they might have an image around their title, subtitle, and their name, depending on what that image looks like, to where it's kind of off-centered, but it still works. And for you, since this is your first book, I want to make sure that your title, your subtitle, your name is centered on that front cover. And please don't put the word by, BY, and then your name on the cover. It's truly not needed, and it's really an amateur move. That's something that we used to do when we were, writing essays in college or maybe high school, middle school, where we're just writing an essay paper. But this is a published book, and therefore your name is suffice. Whether you decide to put that at the bottom or the top, you don't need the word by in front of it. And I also want you to avoid over the top or script font that's really hard to read. That cursive writing that is super hard to read. You can't really make out the letters, or you have to squint or get your magnifying glasses out, or your reading glasses. You have to put those on so you can actually see what the font says. You don't want that. And during this time of creating your book cover, this is not the time to be extra. You don't want to be extra. You really want to stick with a font that is legible and professional, something that is appealing to your ideal reader. And of course, you can go and find examples online. You can go to your public library and look at the front cover of those books to see how they designed it, or how their graphic designer designed that cover, so that you can get ideas. But the whole goal here is to make sure that you have a clean, attractive, readable, professional looking cover. Stay away from the amateur looking covers. Even if you're on a tight budget, sis, you can still have an attractive, appealing cover. All right, the second mistake that I want you to avoid when it comes to self-publishing is to do not skip over getting professional editing. So yes, if you are a person who's a writer and you can also edit, that is great. I'm happy that you have those skills. That's such a wonderful thing. And even if you're someone who's really, really good at grammar, that's great. So of course, then your book, it'll be pretty good by the time that you're finished, but you still want to make sure that you get that professional editing, have another set of eyes on it, somebody who is familiar with editing, who knows how to edit books. And editing is about clarity, it's about flow, and it's about refinement. So you may already have a good book, but we want to make sure that it's a great book and that it flows and that it's clear and easy to read. Even if you're a strong writer, we all miss things. I miss things. And there could be typos, there could be grammar, structure issues, and a professional editor will help your message come through so much stronger and make sure that it flows and makes sense to your ideal reader. A professional editor doesn't just fix mistakes, they help you sharpen your message so your story, your God story that you're sharing with the world or your area of expertise or experience hits the way that you want it to make sure that your message comes across to the ideal reader so that once they finish that book, they have those takeaways that you were trying to get across through your book. And we don't want to rely solely on Grammarly. I use that too. Or Chat B2. Lord. Chat GPT. We don't want to rely heavily on those two AI capabilities. And these tools are our helpers, but they're not our replacements. And you definitely want to get a human, a professional editor to help you. Invest in at least one round of developmental or copy editing. There's all types of editing, and we won't get into that today, but just invest in at least one round of editing, even if you're on a publishing budget. So there are many editors out there, and of course, I can give you some recommendations, even of someone that I used before who I felt was pretty affordable. But make sure that you don't skip over professional editing because it will show up in your book and when people read it. I cannot tell you the countless times that I have supported individuals, went to a conference or a workshop and purchased somebody's book because I was happy to know and see, that they became a published author. But when I opened up the book, I was disappointed because of the way that it was written, because it was unclear and I could tell that they didn't have professional editing or that words were misspelled or that the format was off. And maybe that's just the book writing coach in me and the author and all of that good stuff. But still, if it does not only look well, but then when we get into the content and I see that it hasn't been edited, like just common things that should be edited, it's really a turnoff for me. And I know that if it's a turnoff for me as somebody who loves to read, I know that for an ideal reader, it'll be a turnoff as well. So again, get that professional editing and the message is still yours, but editing polishes it. Make sure that it reflects excellence. And that's what you want for your finished book, the one that you hold in your hand, to be excellent. The third mistake to avoid when it comes to self-publishing is to have a marketing strategy, whatever that is for you. You don't want to have this book published and then you have no marketing strategy. So publishing your book is, I guess, the first phase of the finish line. But then what is your marketing plan? What's the plan for getting the book into people's hands? How are you going to do that? And when you go the self-publishing route, that's something that you're going to have to figure out. How are you going to market this book? Who's going to help you? Are you going to have a launch team? What are you going to do prior to your book coming out? Don't wait until launch day to think about marketing. Even while you're in the book writing phase, you want to take some time out to draft how you're going to get to your marketing plan. So if you have your finished manuscript and say, for instance, you're currently in the editing phase, you want to be thinking about how you're going to market this book. What is your marketing plan? Start building a buzz before the book is released. Don't wait to that day because it's really going to be crickets out there. So talk about your book, share behind the scenes, post excerpts. I know there's a woman, currently she's into plant-based living and holistic health. And right now she's talking a lot and giving lots of examples of excerpts from her book. And just telling people, constantly putting it before them that she's going to be releasing a book soon. So that's something you could do as well. It doesn't cost anything. If you want to share behind the scenes or talk about your book, go live on a social media platform, you can do that. And whatever fits your style, but make sure you're creating that buzz and telling people, talking about your book before it actually comes out. And then know your audience. Know your audience. Know where your audience is as you're marketing this book. Are they at church? Are they at your child's school? Are they at, a sports event that you're involved in? Know your audience, know where to find them, know your message, how to communicate about your book, and make a plan for how you'll reach the people God has called you to impact. So do those things. And because here's the truth, if you don't talk about your book, no one else will. Unless they're, could be your mom, your dad, whoever really knows that you've been in this book writing process, but that could be just one person. So make sure that you talk about your book everywhere you go. It also will help you to stay accountable to yourself and to others, and make sure that you get to the finish line to be able to write your book. So those are the common mistakes when it comes to self-publishing that I wanted to share with you. To recap, that is amateur looking covers. We want to avoid those. Skipping professional editing. And the third, no marketing strategy. So be sure that your book, when it comes out, sis, that is a professional, clean, attractive looking cover, that you get that professional editing so it gives that kiss of excellence, and to have some sort of marketing strategy when you launch your first book. I'm super excited for you. And of course, if you need additional support, if you're tired of guessing your way through the process and want a step-by-step plan that lifts the overwhelm off your shoulders, be sure to book a 1-hour coaching session with me. We'll create a simple, solid book plan to bring your first book to life the right way. Book your session now at donnasherie.com/coaching. Look forward to working with you. Until next time, ciao. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's episode inspired you to take that next step to write your book. Remember, small steps lead to big results. If this podcast has blessed you in some way, be sure to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Your support means the world to me, and it helps others to find the show. Also, be sure to pass on the inspiration by sharing this episode with a friend who could benefit from this message. God bless you, sis, and never, ever give up.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.